This is Unit 7, Lesson 1. Today's learning target is I can compare non-unit fractions. So a review, a unit fraction would be anything with the 1 as a numerator. So unit fractions would be 1/10, 1/8, 1/22. These are all unit fractions. So non-unit fractions would be examples like 3/10 or 7/9 or 3/5. These are non-unit fractions because the number on the top or the numerator is greater than 1. To start today's lesson, I want you to open your workbook to page 333A. And on that page, you're going to see a bunch of fraction bars. And we're going to use the symbols greater than, less than, or equal to compare the fraction 1/10 and 1/5. So on your fraction strips, I want you to circle 1/10. And then I want you to circle 1/5. Which fraction is greater or larger? If you said 1/5, you're correct. 1/10 is less than 1/5. All right, now I want you to look at 3 different fractions. I want you to look at the fractions 1, 1/8, and 1/12. So 1/1 is 1 whole, which is shown at the top. 1/8 is here, and 1/12 is here. Now, if I said to write these in order from greatest to least, are these in the correct order? Are they in order from biggest to smallest? Yes. If I wanted least to greatest, I would write 1/12, 1/8, and then 1 whole. This would be least to greatest. All right, next I want you to look at the fractions 2/3 and 2/5. Which fraction is greater? So 2/3, that means 2 1/3. So I'm circled 2 of the 1/3, and then 2/5 would be 2 1/5. Which one's greater? 2/3 is greater than 2/5. Okay, and that's because 1/3 plus 1/3 is greater than 1/5 plus 1/5. We could also say that 2/3 is bigger than 2/5 because thirds are bigger than fifths. For example, if I have a rectangle and I split it into thirds, or of the same size rectangle and I split it into fourths, thirds are bigger than fifths. So if 1/3 is more than 1/5, then 2/3 must be more than 2/5. All right, let's practice a few more. Let's compare the fractions 4/6 to 4/8. Which one's larger? I want you to circle 4/6 and 4/8 on your fraction bars. After circling them, you should see 4/6 is greater than 4/8. All right, let's compare 3/7 to 3/5. Circle 3/7 and 3/5. Which one's larger? 3/5 is greater than 3/7. Next, I want you to circle 6/10 and 6/12. Which one is greater, 6/10 or 6/12? 6/10 is greater than 6/12. Next, we're going to compare 3/9 to 3/8. 3/9 to 3/8. You should see that 3/8 is greater than 3/9, or 3/9 is less than 3/8. And that's because 1/9, is smaller than 1/8. Next, we're going to compare 1/5 to 2/5. Our denominator here is the same. Is 1/5 or 2/5 greater? 2/5 is greater. Now, since our denominator is the same, the number on top is greater. For number 2, we're comparing 3/5 to 1/5. 3/5 or 1/5. 3/5 is greater than 1/5. How about 4/5 or 2/5? 4/5 or 2/5? 4/5 is greater than 2/5. Next, we're going to move on to page 333 in your math workbook. It says, circle the greater fraction. Use the fraction strips if you need to. All right, so I have our fraction strips on the left. We're comparing 1/12 and 1/2. Which one is greater? The bigger fraction is the one that we're going to circle. 1/2 or 1/12. 1/2 is bigger. How about 2/5 or 2/6? 2/5, 2/6. Which one's bigger? 2/5. 4/12 or 5/12. 4/12 or 5/12. Here's 4/12 and there's 5/12. 5/12 is bigger. 1/3 or 2/3? 2/3 is bigger. All right, I want you to do 2, 4, 6, and 8 on your own, and then come back to the video. For part 2 on this page, it says write greater than or less than to make each statement true. Again, if you need your fraction strips, go ahead and use them. Is 3/10 or 3/8 bigger? Now, my numerator is the same, so the one with the smaller denominator is bigger. So 3/8 is bigger than 3/10. Because 8 is the smaller number, that means the pieces are larger. Number 11, 8/10 and 8/12. Now my numerator is the same. So the one with the larger denominator is going to be smaller. So 8/10 is greater than 8/12. 7/10 and 7/8. Again, the numerator is the same, so the smaller denominator is bigger. So 7/10 is less than 7/8. You're going to do 10, 12, and 14 on your own. We are going to skip Puzzled Penguin. Next, we're moving on to page 334. Make sense of problems. Explain how to compare fractions with the same denominator but different numerators. For example, if you have 1/10 and 2/10, and we're comparing them to see which one's bigger, how do you know which one's bigger? Well, since they have the same denominator, the fraction with the larger numerator is greater. Explain how to compare fractions with the same numerator but different denominator. So for example, if we have 3/6 and we have 3/9, and we want to know which one is bigger, well, the one with the smaller denominator is bigger because those pieces are going to be larger. So the fraction with a smaller denominator is greater. Number 18, Bao listed the birds that visited his bird feeder Friday. He said that 2/5 were finches and 2/6 were wrens. Did more finches or more wrens visit the bird feeder? So we're comparing the fraction 2/5 and 2/6. So in this example, we have the same numerator, but different denominators. So the fraction with the smaller denominator is bigger. Smaller number on the bottom is bigger. So 2/5 is greater than 2/6, which means there were more finches. All right, I want you to do number 19 and 20 on your own. We're going to skip the check for understanding. All right, next we're going to go to the homework page, and you can either print this page off at home or you can just complete it on Seesaw because you don't have a paper copy for your homework yet. You will get them tomorrow. So for 1 through 6, you're going to compare using the greater than or less than symbol. You're going to cross out number 11. And then for 10, it says write 2 things you learned about comparing fractions or 2 facts that you know about comparing fractions. Then you're going to complete page 164. We're going to skip number 16 today.